everybody. Welcome back to the 9th episode of the Report Cards podcast. It's crazy. We've already done 9. We're approaching our 10th episode before you know it. So thank you for joining us. I'm Nick.
And I'm Lisa. And today is July the 14th, 2022. And we've got lots to catch up on. It's been 2 weeks since we've talked, at least.
Yeah, Mom went on vacation. She got to go to Mexico.
Yeah, had a wonderful time. Got sick. Drank the water. That happens. And I was enjoying myself too much. Drinking, eating, smoking. It was, and I wore myself down, and guess what?
Mom got COVID.
Yay. And I got ivermectin, and guess what? It cures COVID. COVID is the flu. So, even though I want to prove my point that COVID is the flu.
I just love how you're going out the gate swinging immediately.
Well, I'm like, enough pussy talking. Let's get real.
Well, I think it's interesting. So, in Mexico, when you got there, you drank the water. You when you drink the water, you do some things. Your body goes through some things.
I had the diarrhea.
You had all the gross stuff happening. So, when you were in Mexico, is that when you found out you had COVID?
No. But I was in Mexico enjoying myself and letting my immune system suffer. I wasn't taking care of myself. I wasn't taking my Z-Stack, which I normally take, which is just some vitamins. A, B.
Well, don't go into it because they're not sponsored.
Okay, they're not. But again, I'm doing this for different reasons, and I know you're the one who's going to keep us from getting in trouble and getting. We're going to get banned no matter what because we're talking truth. So. I don't know what you're so worried about. But I'm glad that you're keeping us on the straight and narrow. So no, I was partying like there was no tomorrow in Cancun because, you know what, I grew up poor. So when you do an all-inclusive...
You go all out.
I go all out.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed myself, and I got to see my daughter... and my niece and my mom and my stepdad and my sister and her boyfriend, Alfonso. So we had an amazing time, except that I wasn't taking care of myself. And unlike the powers that be, the CDC and the FDA and Fauci and all these corrupt, awful people, that told you that, you know, there's no such thing as natural immunity. There's, you know, you have to take this death shot or, you know, you're going to die. Well, I was convinced, just like everybody else, when COVID first hit, that it was real. That COVID we were going to die. That lasted about 2 months for me. But then I started thinking, you know what? I have been healthy my whole life. My daughter, who never missed a day of school, I'm thinking, this just doesn't make sense. And when they're telling us, oh, stay in the house, stay 6 feet apart, you know, don't go anywhere, don't do anything. They were purposely trying to make us sick.
Well, that and desocializing people with that.
Well, and they were hoping that mental illness, which did go rampant.
I mean, it's rampant.
And,
it still is, obviously. And
exactly.
Suicide rates and all of it. Depression, of course.
The cure can't be worse than the disease.
And it certainly
And
is.
they did everything they could to kill us off.
Yeah.
Well, I'm happy to say that I'm glad I got COVID, the flu, because I proved 2 points. One, I got sick because I wasn't taking care of myself.
Yes.
Two, I took ivermectin, and guess what? I feel fucking fabulous.
What's your third point?
I think I only had 2 points. But I can say I was right.
Okay.
COVID is the flu.
Mom, we've started this like 2-3 minutes in, and you've gone off the deep end and incredibly quickly. I think this is a record for us of just like straight to the extremes. But listen,
because I missed you and I couldn't wait to tell you this.
And I've been so excited for this podcast, and I'm thankful more than anything that you didn't die.
But now that you know what you know, do you regret saying that, oh, we should have the vaccine for some people?
No, I don't want a mandate on anything, so let's get that out. Okay,
but so you're not convinced yet that the vaccine is the death shot?
No, I still, the only people that I would mildly encourage, again, I'm not making a choice for anybody. The people are making their own fucking choices, but I'm not upset at the fact that old people, frail people, overweight people, health condition people.
And according to you, I'm old and overweight.
No, you're not. You're not. But like those people, I would be like, yeah, of course, that makes sense that you're getting a vaccine. Sure. Kids, healthy people, all of the above of like just general decent. If you got the flu normally, would you die? If so, like you should get vaccinated. But if you aren't gonna die with like normal circumstances of getting a flu or pneumonia, don't get the vaccine. That's just my opinion.
But, well, see, I have failed at my being a mother.
No, you haven't. But I still wouldn't say you should get the vaccine. Obviously, you just got COVID. You just got sick.
So guess what?
And you're immune naturally.
97% never going to get COVID again.
Yes. I believe, well, that strand, at least, I'm sure in 3 to 6 months when there's like 7 new viruses.
But even more so.
Yeah.
I'm never going to get it again because I know what to do to keep myself healthy.
Well, this is what I would rather touch into besides this whole like a crazy conversation. So when did you get ivermectin? Where did you get it?
Oh, so something, good Lord above, said, you know what? While you're in Mexico, why don't you get some ivermectin? Because I've known that ivermectin is the cure for the flu. I've just known from doing my research, from just common sense, and it's going to cure a lot of other things too, which is great news. I'm not prepared to talk about that today, but God told me to buy ivermectin. A friend of mine asked me to pick up another prescription that she can't get here, but you can get in Mexico. Go figure.
What? So you're just dealing drugs for people?
Well, yeah.
You're smuggling drugs? How did you get these drugs across the border?
Well, first of all,
did you shove them up your ass?
You don't need a prescription for these drugs. And it proves my point that the CDC and Fauci made it so we couldn't get the cure. We couldn't buy ivermectin, and we couldn't buy, you still can't, hydroxychloroquine. Now, hydroxychloroquine, I know how to make it with lemon and with grapefruit.
What are you talking about? Are you a chemist now? Are you a chemist now?
Again, it's just doing some research, and it's about natural remedies. God gave us the best defense.
Yeah.
A normal immune system is the best defense there was. That's why I was able to go 2.5 years without getting COVID.
That you know of, at least.
2.5 years, you guys. And everybody around me got it. Now, a lot of it was that I wouldn't take a test. Why would you take a test to know that you're sick? You're fucking sick.
Oh my God, Mom.
This one's going to
What
be our
the
best
fuck?
one. This will be our best one. Okay, so I'm in Mexico. I'm going to pick up this prescription for a friend of mine anyway, that you can't get here. So I'm like, you know
Smuggling
what?
drugs.
I'm going to buy some ivermectin.
You just got put onto a list. You are not going to be able to fly out of the country again. Or at the very least, the next time you come back to the country, you're going to get pulled aside to TSA. They're going to go through all your shit. They're going to check your butthole. They're going to do all of the things because they're like, yeah, this bitch is smuggling drugs for friends. It's not even for you. And just openly admitting it.
I did use the ivermectin because I needed to cure myself from the flu so I could prove my point. But the only reason...
How much did it cost?
It was $11 US dollars to buy a 2-tablet packet. So they sold it in daily doses. And I took the recommended 5-day doses of ivermectin. And I tell you what, I feel amazing. I feel great. I feel better than I have in a long time.
So when you bought it, did you started taking it then?
No, I did not start taking it.
Okay.
So I bought it before I knew I had the flu.
Gotcha.
But my system was really worn down. Keep in mind, I've had the diarrhea now for 5 days. But I still enjoyed myself, and I kept drinking and eating and
I'm
smoking.
impressed with how you're able to do that. Of just like have a good time and be fun when you feel utterly miserable.
Well, and I think it's a choice. It's a mental choice.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Andrea, my niece,
Mhm.
in 6 years. I wanted to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And my mom, and well, everybody. And
Of
family
course,
is
of
family.
course.
So
Your son didn't go, didn't get invited, but
well,
I'm glad that family was there.
Do you want to go to Florida in September?
Of course, we
Okay.
want to go all everywhere.
All right, because we're probably going to drive there. And
Is this for the wedding?
No, I'm thinking maybe I'll get married next year. So my mom and my sisters found out I'm engaged.
They just found out.
Yeah.
What do you mean they just found out?
I didn't
It's
want
been like 6 months.
I know.
Other people at my previous work knew that you were engaged before I did. And
That's
now
not
that was
true.
like 4 months ago.
No, that's not true.
And now your own fucking mother and my own sister didn't even fucking know.
No, Taylor knew.
So now the whole world is gonna know a couple days before your own family?
So this is I got engaged.
You
at
have
Christmas.
gone off the rocker today.
I have not.
This has just gone off.
All right, let's not talk about our engagement.
Yeah.
So I had a great time. Went the whole week, feeling not the best, and got home on Saturday. Took Archie to the emergency vet he didn't need. Thank you, Lord. I
It's a dog.
appreciate that. Yeah, Archie's my baby. And came back and we partied all day on Sunday.
Well, that's what's funny is we came over for 4th of July.
Did I act sick?
You definitely were tame, I would say. But still, like if I was in that position, I wasn't even sick and I didn't want to be there. Or not that I didn't want to be there,
You
but
probably were
I
the
was
one
tired.
that did not have the most fun. Everybody else had a lot of fun.
it was just hot and exhausting and it was great, but the fact that you were able to put on yet another show for everybody is impressive when you were sick.
Well, and I kept it going. The next day, which was the 4th of July, and we had the girls over because they didn't leave until Tuesday morning. Well, I wake up on Tuesday morning, and guess what? I can't smell. And then I figured out I couldn't taste. I'm like, I got ivermectin. I'm going to start taking it. Started taking it on Tuesday, took my 5 days, and I felt amazing after the 5 days.
Do you have any left?
No, I used all because that's the protocol for ivermectin treatment for 5 days, and it cures. So it cures the common cold, it cures the flu, and it cures your fucking COVID.
It does. I mean, it's been taken billions of times for people. I mean, it's a generic medicine that
your
is proved.
favorite person.
I know.
Rogan took it, and guess what?
He
great. Was right.
Well, he's also in a tremendous health standpoint.
It doesn't matter. I am the most average person alive. There's nothing that special about me, except that I have a good immune system. Well, I did up until I started shitting myself for, a week. I really was taking good care of myself, even though, yes, I smoke cigarettes, and I'm going to quit one day. But not today. But I've got this one over here saying, well, you probably should get the vaccine.
No.
Yes, you did.
We are too far gone beyond that, because I don't want anybody to put anything in their body that they don't want to put in there.
So now, do you agree with me that the COVID vaccine is not a vaccine?
No.
It's not a vaccine.
No, it's a vaccine. It's got the label as a vaccine. Is it an effective vaccine? Probably not. But at the same time, COVID, the virus itself is mutating constantly, especially when you magnify the spread. Like right now, I mean, literally, you got COVID. Damn near a quarter of the world got COVID last 3 weeks. So obviously, when you have these massive spikes in spread, you're mutating over months and years, and billions of people or millions of people getting it. It's mutating over time. So the vaccine that everybody took for 4 fucking COVID strands ago, they're not going to be as effective as this mutating virus.
Okay, honey, you've been listening to Fauci Ouchie for a long time.
I don't even give a shit about Fauci. It's just that's virus. That's science. That's normal.
The 2 things that I was so excited about getting COVID was that I wanted to prove to people. I think Joe Rogan did an amazing job because he's a lot more popular than I am.
Just a little.
But they don't know me they haven't met me. Remember how I used to say, remember when I loved Brett Favre?
Mm-hmm.
I still love
You
Brett
still
Favre.
love him. We all love him.
Yeah.
You got to see his penis.
And, no, I actually never saw his penis.
What?
No, I never did.
I'm
not that curious about it.
What do you mean?
Remember when I was... You see one penis, you've seen them all.
Yeah, but it's Brett Favre's penis.
With
a little bit of like what a good story around this penis.
No, he made some stupid mistakes with his penis. But anyway, I still love him and he's a great guy. And but remember when I was younger, I would say, well, if I ever meet Brett Favre, he's gonna love me. I just know it.
Mm-hmm.
Remember how I used to say that all the time?
Well, because everybody loves you, Mom, except for the people that think you're insane. And there's probably going to be a handful of people, a little bit more than there was the day before.
But my 2 points is COVID is the flu. And you can avoid getting the flu by taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
And gosh forbid, if you party like a rock star like I did, and you let your immune system suffer, which I did.
Yep.
I admit it. I made a mistake. The good Lord told me to buy ivermectin, and it fucking works.
Mom, I'm so happy that you bought ivermectin and smuggled it across the country.
And I did. I brought it.
And plus the other prescription for a friend.
But, exactly. So the fact of the matter is, in Tennessee, you can buy ivermectin over the counter because smart, good American people stood up and said, you know what? Why are we not making this? Because there's no profit for the...
Well, that's why. There's zero profit. It's
and
generic
that's
drug.
why that they hid it from us.
Yes.
Because money is the...
Well, and that's 100% where I agree with you is, and I'm not saying ivermectin is the cure-all curse here. Is it something that can help treat COVID? Yes, clearly it is.
It is the cure.
We don't need to go as far as to say it's the cure, but it helps the treatments of it. So when you take it, you feel better.
Exactly.
That is everything.
So now the two most important people in your life, two of the three most important, four maybe, people in your life, me and Joe Rogan, have proved to you that COVID is the flu. Ivermectin works. And to keep from getting sick, we need to start eating better.
Yes.
Taking better care of ourselves.
Of course.
And taking better care of each other.
All right. We've gone on far too long for this. So I want to give my final word, and I want it to be the end
of COVID.
Of this conversation.
Okay.
For everybody at home with rational minds that can understand with a little bit of common sense, a little bit of the reality. COVID is COVID.
COVID is the flu.
The flu exists. There's influenza.
Okay, so what happened in 2020 when we had no flu? None. There was zero flu.
Hey, bring it back.
Bring it back. But no, answer that one question. If COVID existed, what happened to the flu? We just didn't have the flu.
Listen, I'm not disagreeing with you that the COVID took precedent over the flu. If you were sick, it doesn't matter. If you sneezed in front of a doctor, COVID case. Mark that down.
Yeah.
Put him on a ventilator. But I'm glad you're alive. I'm glad you made it. When you deteriorate and destroy your body, you are more prone to getting sick. So take care of yourself.
Yeah.
If you can get ivermectin, use it as a treatment. If you don't want to get the vaccine, well, it's fucking been like 3 years. So this isn't even a thing anymore. If you haven't gotten vaccinated, you're not getting vaccinated.
Exactly.
And good for you.
But why do they keep asking us to get vaccinated?
Because Pfizer needs, they're not at all-time highs in their stock price. You know, people are still wanting to cash out. There's just too much money. People follow the money, obviously. Ivermectin, the shit that Joe Rogan and all the news media standpoint that they took on ivermectin was incredible. Back in the day. Horse paste.
Exactly.
My mom took horse paste.
Do you know that the reason they did that was because Trump told us to take it?
Yes, I know. Trump said something. Everybody went against what he had to say. I'm shocked they didn't fucking ban it.
And guess what? He was right again.
Jesus Christ.
I am on a roll, honey.
Mom.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm just glad you're here. I'm glad your friend got her prescription drugs.
Well, it's like, I can't remember the name of it.
It doesn't matter. You don't need to tell them what the drugs you've smuggled into America is. We'll leave it at that. But obviously,
okay, so what you want to finish the COVID conversation?
There's just been a massive spike in COVID cases for 3 weeks. I didn't get a test or didn't take a test. I kind of have a feeling that maybe I and my family even went through a minor thing of COVID. To my understanding, there's like 3-4 new strands that have gotten relatively little attention to, and fine, I don't even care. I'm glad that we're moving past this now, because the world has finally started to realize, like, wait a minute, if we did what they wanted us to do, which is care so much about COVID and shut down the world, we're experiencing the results of exactly that now, and it's hurting. So people's pain doesn't give a fuck about wearing a mask, social distancing, getting vaccinated. They don't give a fuck. None
of those things worked.
It didn't work. It was theater, but at the same time,
it was fear.
The fear took over so many people that the emotions took over, because obviously close people died from this. You know, so it is a big deal. I don't want to belittle that in any way.
They may have died of the flu, but they died in the hospital because they killed them.
Listen, oh my god! All right, we're done. We're done. Next topic. Next fucking topic. This is crazy. We're gonna be on this. We're going on 30 minutes at least just on COVID.
But
Wow.
I think it's important.
I know it's important, Mom.
Because here's an example of we have to use our common sense.
We are, and we're gonna keep talking about it.
Okay.
Always. But
we have to have discussion.
This is gonna turn into an hour and a half because everything that comes out of your mouth, I have a response to, and I have a need.
That's why you're my son, and I love you.
I know, but I have a need for the people listening to hear this response. But I have 3 other topics that I'd rather talk about.
All right. I feel good that we're at a good. Let's move on. What would you like to talk about next?
Well, let's get the Elon Musk thing out of the way.
Okay.
In Twitter.
Yeah.
So we finally talked about this, a month and a half ago now. I was really excited, but I had my reservations, especially the last 2 podcasts ago. I think we kind of updated the deal going on, and I was getting frustrated with Elon Musk even. And now looking at it now, the deal's done. Is it done? Yeah, most likely. Obviously, there's going to be legal battles for weeks, probably a year, 2 years, who the fuck knows. But it doesn't look like Twitter is going to be bought by Elon Musk. And when we last talked about this...
And why should he buy it?
I don't give a shit.
And if he buys it, why shouldn't he get a haircut? Because they lied.
He went into the deal giving up due diligence.
I know, but you can't.
But here's just the reality. I'm a massive Elon Musk fan. I love Elon Musk. He is literally the most important figure in the world right now for humanity's sake. But, this is a big but. He offered $44 billion,
yes,
which is a very obvious and clear, easy. They have to accept this deal. The shareholders, they have to accept this deal. So he overvalued the deal from the get-go, and then waived diligence from it. I think this was just a billionaires fuck you money type of shit where he's just playing.
He may have. I don't disagree with you. I think Elon,
and I'm just happy that he could do it.
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy. That's awesome. But it's also super disappointing and sad, and it's a giant letdown. And I had the feeling a month ago.
It doesn't matter what's going to happen to Twitter, because the most important thing has already come out.
Well, here's the thing.
The most important thing is that we know the Twitter people are bad, and that they have a lot of bots.
But the problem is you're right. Fixed it.
I know.
That's the problem.
We are fixing it. Eventually, it's going to be fixed.
No way.
With any problem, we've got to know that there's a problem. Up until Elon, who your favorite person in the world, next to your mother.
I have my wife and my child.
Oh yeah, we forget about it.
You're
She's
third
amazing.
and fourth though. It's pretty good. Top 5.
Hey, if I can be
pretty
top
good.
5 in your life, I'm feeling pretty good.
Joe Rogan's second though.
Lauren, Johnny, Joe Rogan, me, your dad, your sister. That's pretty
No
funny.
comment.
Okay, so getting back to why I think it doesn't matter what happens is Elon did what he needed to do.
Listen,
he showed the world.
He shined some light, but the problem is it doesn't matter. The most benefits that could have come from all of this was him actually purchasing this deal. He didn't. And we can go into why he didn't. But he didn't. All of the benefits for the people, for the masses, for social media, for how that medium works, for everything, all of the benefits were with him purchasing it and hopefully making it better. With him not going through the deal, this now opens up a door from maybe somebody else coming in, because there was a giant purchase into them recently. So Or at the very least, too, them staying the same and continuing doing what they're doing. So it's a net negative that this is not working.
Okay, first of all, anybody who doesn't realize that Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and all of your crazy social media things, that most of them are bots.
All of them have bots. So that's the thing, is like, okay, he went into the deal, the girl saying that it's more than 5% of the bots.
But that under law in the SEC, Twitter states they have less than 5%. All Elon was asking, prove it. And they couldn't prove it.
Listen, and again, I'm not saying that what Elon is proposing to the world to see is like that's valid. If he wants to know before he drops $44 billion on this, he wants to know everything. But again, all of that is information that he could have easily handled, gotten well before he even made a fucking offer that waived due diligence.
Yeah, but the point you're missing, Nick, is it wouldn't have woken up all of us.
But
had it not played out the way it's playing out.
So what? We know what we already knew, which is there's a lot of fucking fake accounts and bots? Like, no.
But the only way that we're going to find out exactly how many of them is this.
So
what's going to happen is that Twitter is now going to sue him.
Yeah. Elon Musk, and I'm sure, like, I cannot imagine the courts of it, whatever court even takes this on, or the SEC forcing him to actually buy the company. I highly doubt they're going to force him to do that. It's like buying a house. Yeah. You can't force somebody to buy it.
Yeah.
But will he get, I think it's at the very least $1 or $2 billion Twitter could get from this? Yeah. And, well, $1 or $2 billion for him, it's a good chunk of money, but, I mean, that's the fuck you money that he has. Which is incomprehensible.
Which, again, what better case scenario could have happened? This is the best thing.
He bought the fucking company.
Why does it doesn't matter if he buys it or not.
Yes, it does.
He did what he did to uncover, to show the world, because there were still so many people. There's so many people that don't believe that people are being censored on social media.
I agree. That is the one good benefit that has come out of it. I don't give a fuck about how many bots there are. I don't care about that. But what the negative consequences that did come from this that are real, and a lot of people have been affected by it, and I'm looking at more from the market standpoint, is from him doing all of these things in the last 2 months of the way that it's been going, it's destabilized a lot of things with his company and with Twitter, especially now that it's going, not going to go through. Well, Twitter stock prices going down, whatever, and then even with him purchasing it, Tesla's stock prices going out. So it's just like financially, a lot of people are being impacted because of this decision, and he doesn't necessarily really care. But other people are being affected by his own shareholders and Twitter's shareholders. So there's people's
But at the end
money
of the
at
day,
stake.
Is that Elon's fault?
No, again, it's his fuck you money. He doesn't care.
I know. And the thing is those people, there's going to be another class action lawsuit over all of this.
Yeah.
That's eventually going to happen. But to me, I'm just excited that he proved to the world what we people that had common sense and knew something is not quite right in this world. He proved to us that we are not crazy, and that I am not a conspiracy theorist, and that I went off all social media, a year, 2 years ago, and I do sometimes go on Facebook just to see Johnny, but that's the only reason I go on Facebook.
Yeah.
And I know when we first started in business together, you were like, Mom, we got to do this, we got to do that. You know what? I never got a piece of business from Facebook or anything else. It's all about just being good at what you do and putting your client first, and you can be successful.
Well, going back to just like Twitter in
Yes.
general, I just think it's shitty. I think it's shitty.
What do you think is shitty?
I had my hopes up that he would purchase Twitter
And make it better. And fix
make it better.
Well, the good
Open it up
news
for
is
censorship, for social
even
media,
if-
set the standard for every other company to hopefully follow, because if they don't, they'll be kicked to the curb.
well,
Like, that's what I was
but
optimistic
the good
about.
news is that's going to happen. Whether Elon buys them, whether
No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. Because
Yes,
when we
it
talked
is.
about social media before, the same standpoints still apply. There's shareholders.
so
they have,
the
they-
crooked people at Twitter aren't going to be able to keep being crooked.
no, they're always going to maintain censorship to the fullest
No,
extent.
they're not.
Yes, they will.
No, they're
Yes,
not
they will.
because people won't
They
use
are-
them anymore.
They are way more obliged to help to meet sales and all of their expectations for shareholders to make sure the revenue's looking good. Who pays them? Advertisers. The advertisers do not want to
Yeah,
affiliate
but those-
themselves with somebody who's saying the N-word or talking about abortion or talking about COVID and all that stuff. They don't want to put their name on that. So when you have a massive platform where millions of people can put anything on the fucking internet, and there's an ad right underneath it, they have a problem with that.
Well, what
So
is it
censorship
about?
are not going to go
Okay,
away.
well, let me understand this. So, do you believe in free speech or do you not?
100% I do. In every way, I do. But freedom of speech, our First Amendment right, does not apply to fucking Twitter in 144 characters. It doesn't apply because it's a private company.
It should, though.
No. I'm not saying that they don't have a societal obligation to do so, but legally, we can't do anything about it because it's a private enterprise.
Yes, that's
And
how
they
we do it.
should
Just like
have
all
that right to
the
do it.
woke bad companies that we've seen this year that have chosen to make some stupid decisions. Guess what? We stopped using them. And
And-
guess what? The American people,
that's-
we can make a difference. Look at Disney. Great example.
Mom, I agree completely with
Those
what you're saying.
rumors.
I completely agree with what you're saying because of the fact that the only power that you have against fighting this is to stop using it.
You got it.
Or have another platform that gets way that allows the opposite. So, but that's not the case, at least for the masses yet. Truth Social isn't even fucking on the radar to these other companies. So, until that changes, nothing will change, and then censorship will be mass prevalent. And that's sad. And again, that's why
But
I'm
that's-
pissed at Elon. And I think why, because again, we're rampaging here. I think why he didn't buy this deal is he knows what the hell's going on, or sees what's going on. He made a comment about what's going on in the economics in the world right now, and this was his out. He leveraged himself pretty big with this purchase, because if he bought that company, a lot of his net wealth evaporates real quick. Not evaporates, but it's locked up.
When you have that much money, what does
I get that. I get that. But still, if his stock price goes to $200, he's not what he fucking is now. So that's just the reality of the case. When you have a company that's trading.
You're disappointed. You think Elon wasted his time.
No, I
and
think he
didn't
made a
fix.
I think he made a massive cultural and political statement.
Yeah.
He risked a couple $1 billion
Yeah.
to make it happen because
Yeah.
he's got that money.
Yeah.
But I don't think his intentions of actually purchasing the company were real.
Could anybody else have done what he did?
I'm sure there's a handful of people that do, but they don't give a shit. Not enough. Elon Musk does.
He cares about freedom of speech.
Yes, because he's also impacted by it. I mean, again, it wouldn't shock me if Elon Musk is one of the next major names that gets banned off of all of these social media platforms.
But
It wouldn't shock me at all. Because he is controversial in a lot of things that he says. That's why so many fucking liberals hate his guts for some reason. Because he has controversial topics.
But why should they be controversial? Free speech is free speech.
It's not against criticism.
Don't get me wrong. I spent a week with my lovely family.
Mom, we're gonna find out free speech real fucking quick when this goes live and we see a lot of people's comments on.
And yes, we're probably gonna have to turn off the comments because they're gonna hurt our feelings.
No, we're not. We're not going to, because I want you. If you believe in free speech, you're gonna fucking see it. You're gonna see the freedom of speech in action. So, but that's the thing is.
But that
it's not freedom of consequences.
But the good news is we couldn't talk about ivermectin, or you were banned off Facebook.
Yep.
Twitter.
Yep. Shadow banned at the very least, to where you are not being exposed to your normal group of people.
And how sad is that? It is the cure.
It's not the cure.
It's
a treatment.
A treatment. What's the big fancy word?
I don't know, because neither of us are scientists, and we shouldn't be speaking on this.
Yeah, but we
know anyway.
This is my opinion. We'll put one of those writers on all of our.
Oh, trust me,
videos.
there's going to be one already below it.
This is for entertainment purposes only, and this is our opinion.
Spotify, YouTube, all of them, right underneath it, are going to say, these people are fucking crazy.
Okay, here's my old time saying: listen to your elders. I was told when I was a little kid, listen to your elders. They were wiser. They knew better. I now finally realize.
Not all of them. Don't listen
right.
to all of them.
Well, no, because
don't listen to all of them.
Some of us have been
because our
brainwashed.
elders are the ones who have got us into all of this. All of it. All of it. You're 70, 80, 90 years old. You have literally made and created the world that we are in now.
Oh, you millennials can't take any responsibility.
Sure, I can. Absolutely. We can take responsibility, but at the same time, when you change the rules of the game, like, I don't know, 1971 taking us off the gold standard, M2 money supply, unlimited QE, all of these things.
I had control over that.
No,
I was one.
No, I'm not talking about you. I am talking about the older people.
No,
especially
the corrupt people.
The people in
They're
power.
older now, but they were fucking assholes and corrupt back in 71.
Yeah.
Where I failed, and a lot of us have failed, is we've allowed them to do this to us.
Yes. Out of ignorance or just fear.
That, and we got a me
or greed.
Greed. Money is the root of all evil, baby.
Yeah, I believe it 100%.
What was one of the first things I said to you when I saw you today? That I was so proud of you for being able to stay home with Johnny, and you guys are doing pretty good.
Yeah.
And it made me realize how lucky and how blessed we were that your dad did the same thing.
Yeah.
But I didn't appreciate it back then.
Well, and that's something, and luckily I have the support with my family that allows this to happen, and I'm so thankful and grateful for that. But, I mean, I absolutely love it.
I know. And you're good at it.
And I want 6 more kids.
I know. I do too.
I at least want one in the next year.
Yeah. A little girl.
Sure. It's going to ruin me, but sure. But, yeah, and very lucky. Money is certainly not everything by any means. In times like this, it's certainly nice to have and makes life a little bit easier, but it certainly does not make you happy.
No.
That's for sure. You know, we did well growing up. When I was growing up, and
I remember you once said to me, the difference between you and Taylor is you remember us being poor. She never.
Well, and I think Taylor was at least old enough to not necessarily be able to have everything that she wanted, because we were in that point. But there was a few years there of like, damn, compared to where we live and other things like that, we had the nice things, but the home life still wasn't perfect or great even. So it's just like, not like us kids wise, we were perfect, but seeing your and dad's relationship, no. So it was like, what the fuck is the point yeah, you get to go on a few vacations and shit like that, and you got a nice house, but if you're unhappy a good portion of the time, what's the point? There isn't one. I'd rather be mediocre at best and happy than wealthy and miserable.
Exactly. But you never knew that until you had Johnny.
Well, and it's hard
you got Lauren, and
it's hard to really have that mentality when you're broke too.
And I know, but part of me thinks we all have to be broke at one point.
Well, I think so.
Because I don't think you can honestly appreciate what you have until you don't have it.
Well, and I think now we should go into. I would love to talk about the state of the economy and life like that, only because we're getting into this. Because so many people are broke right now. So many people. I don't know the exact statistics, but it's mind-boggling how many people are paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah, but according to
Biden,
the resident Biden, he says that the economy is just fine, and that the American people they have more savings than they've ever had.
Well, he's a year and a half past due, because at that time, a year and a half ago, that was the case. So many people, we had a very high savings rate, we had all of it. But now that's not the case. And that's because of the economic choices that they made that are now impacting us today. And that's sad, because I don't know. I'm right in the middle of like anything could happen right now, but the worst of what could happen is, I feel like, so likely that it's scary, and that's what's somewhat scary to me. Because again, credit through the roof. You have credit cards, you have credit, you have car loans, you have all of these things. The average person has gotten themselves in so much debt, it's fucking insane.
Yeah.
Record-setting highs, far exceeding 2008 on a personal, individual level.
Mm-hmm.
Not even including corporations debting themselves to the 9th degree. So on top of very, very hyper low savings rates, because so many people are going paycheck to paycheck, and now we're going to start to see a slight contraction in unemployment, or employment's starting to contract. And if that contracts, it might contract even more, and it's just like this spiraling effect.
Are you hearing about the layoffs?
Well, they've been doing a lot of the tech side have been doing layoffs for a while now, and are proceeding to do layoffs, and certainly not hiring.
Well, and I think they're being held accountable, and people are figuring out,
Well, they just
look at Elon. One of the things, and again, Elon Musk is not my favorite person, but I believe in a good business plan. I was a good manager.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, and this is how I justify that I was a pretty good manager. People still fucking talk about me to this day.
Every time I see anybody, they're like, "Your mother," and I'm like, "Yeah." Really? Can't believe that. I just thought she was a bitch.
Well, you either loved me or you didn't. And that's okay too, because I'm not for everybody.
Well, very few people are in that position.
There's a New Country song that talks about that too. I'm not for everyone, I think is the name of it. You should listen to it. It's good. But but one thing that I liked about Elon is he's like, you know what? If you work for me, you got to go to the office.
Well, but so I'm glad you brought that up, because the day he makes
because that kind of sounds like me.
Well, no, for the year and a half, 2 years of COVID, get your shit done. You get your shit done. You're doing great. Whatever, work wherever you want. It doesn't matter. But literally, the day he makes the comment, or the next day he made that comment, they then make a statement saying we've stopped hiring and now we're going to lay off 10%.
Yeah.
So it's
honestly what he was doing was he was clearing out his pieces of shit. Because there are some pieces of shit in this world.
Yeah,
people that are wasting our air supply.
But again, it's just when you announce that you're going to be laying off 10% of the company, but the day before you're just like, all right, motherfuckers, y'all better come into work or you're fired. Is that the reason? Or is it like, hey, we over leveraged ourselves, we overhired, we are seeing a contraction now?
I think he made the best out of the situation.
I just think he has such a massive platform and so many people listen to him, and his ability to advocate and advertise his companies are insane, and that's why his stock valuations are through the fucking roof, that every word that comes out of his mouth is really magnified so much. So with him making that comment and then literally the news piece coming out the next day, it just doesn't necessarily look good.
Well, I think that what he showed us, or what I took from that situation, is that there is a lot of fat.
Sure.
Every company has it.
Everybody was hiring like fucking crazy when there was massive PPP loans, unlimited QE, interest rates near zero, growth exploding. So again, it was easy to overhire in a market that was hard to hire. And then it's a boom bust period. That's just literally what's happening. The scary thing though is this bust that very well could and can happen could be the biggest bust.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like, oh, housing market 2008, financial crisis, shit like that. No, it's different. It's different because now we're compounding multiple crises all in one. We got the 70s inflation mixed with a possible housing market, but no, not yet, at least. But in a strong employment. But what happens when that employment breaks down? What happens when we're not at 3 or almost 4% unemployment? What if we go to 6 to 8% unemployment? I mean, what happened when Volckered the fucking economy in the 70s and the 80s? When he rose interest rates to 20%, unemployment rose to 11. Granted, when COVID happened, we were at 13, 14, but that was also for like 3 months. If we raised interest rates to 6%, even 6-8%, what that could then look like for the unemployment, and then again the spiraling that then happens once you have less people working, less people making money, less people being able to afford their home, less people being able to rent an apartment, all of these things. They're cutting costs now in other fucking finances that they can cut. So now you're not buying the latest Apple phone. And then they start laying. I mean, it's just a fucking spiraling effect that very well can happen. And that's crazy. Is that going to happen? Hopefully not. I hope not, because if that does happen, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people will probably die. And it would be awful. It would be devastating. But kind of going into that, CPI just got announced yesterday. 9.1.
Yeah.
9.1.
Yeah.
It yet again, for 2 months in a row, beat every single economic analyst's expectations. Not one of them had anything close to that. Not one. Not one. They're all like 8.4 to 8.7.
These are supposed to be experts.
These are the 50 biggest, most important experts that eventually, essentially guide the market in general on these things. And they
were all wrong.
They were all wrong. Every single one of them. So 2 months
Just
in a row.
Just like how the CDC
everyone.
and the FDA and Fauci were all wrong about COVID.
Well, yeah.
Why are we listening to these experts?
I don't know. I don't know. They offer good insight, but
well,
at the same time,
like Yellen. Oh, it's transitory.
Yeah, same with Powell. It's transitory.
And we're still listening.
At
to
least
these
one of them.
Seriously.
At least one of them admitted it. Finally.
That's the one thing about think of any company that you've ever worked for. If you suck at your job, for instance, Fauci sucked at his job.
You don't work. You shouldn't.
You fire him.
Yeah, you get rid of him.
Yeah, that's why you may disagree with me about your opinions on Trump, but he was a businessman like I'm a businesswoman.
Mm-hmm.
I run my business the best that I can.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not perfect. I'm going to make mistakes. But I tell you what, it feels great. And I never once took for granted the fact that I was only as good as my employees that worked for me. But you know what? A lot of them thought I was crazy. Some people might think I'm crazy now.
Yeah.
But they all still respect me and adore me.
But
so I must have done something right. Because I use common sense. And if you didn't want to play in the playground, don't let the fucking door hit you in the ass.
Well, what's happening right now?
And
they're all wrong.
These fuckers,
they're
all
wrong.
These fuckers, Biden, Powell, Yellen, Fauci, they all need to go away.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
We need to take control and govern ourselves like we were meant to be.
Yeah, I mean, even with Powell, like I've always somewhat been a fan of Powell, but
why?
Hindsight.
It's 2020.
Hindsight has been not good. That especially when he gets reelected, even though at the time of it,
keep talking.
But even though at the time we knew that this was wrong, and gets reelected. Basically, my whole point right now is the same as it was last month. The Fed is behind the curve on this. They are so much behind the curve. So essentially what happened once they got the print of the 9.1, the Fed funds rate are now pricing in, it's going to change obviously on the daily here, but they're pricing in a 1% increase by the end of this month. And this goes back even further of like, okay, 2 years ago, we're not even thinking about raising rates. Well, a year later, we were raising rates. We're not going to go more than 50 basis points. Now we're going 75 already and possibly 1 now. So that's putting us at, 2.5%, 3% interest rates just by the end of this year federally. And what that means is the country itself, the tax dollars that we pay for, what they're going to have to pay in interest back to the Federal Reserve is exponential. And so Volcker went to 20%. We're not even going to come close to 20% because we literally cannot. The amount of money that exists in debt far exceeds tenfold what was back in those times. So we can't even raise, I forget if it was like 7 or 8%. If we raised it that high, more than half or almost more than half of our entire GDP or the entire tax system would literally be paying just interest. Just interest. So
we've only been paying just interest this whole time.
Oh no, your military, social spending, all of these other things that we spend money on and pay for. But if we were to rate, hypothetically, if we were to double the interest rates next year to like 8% federally, far more than half of the total supply would be just being paid to interest. It can't happen. It wouldn't be possible for them to do it more than 10%, literally, because then when all of the tax money that we pay to the government would be paying fucking interest. Just interest. Military is the biggest thing that we spend money on, and it would far exceed that. Just on interest. Fake money. Made up money. Made up. It's nothing. So the taxes that you pay...
Where does that money go, Nick?
It goes to the government that then spends a ridiculous amount of money on the military and a ridiculous amount of money on paying back debt. That's it. The social spending plans that we spend money on, like, as Social Security's 4 or 5%, or it's 6%. It's a lot of spending. Medicare, shit like that. But all these other social spending things, that's nothing in comparison to just interest on debt. And it's crazy how much it is on 0.25% interest like it has been for years. Imagine what it will be at Well, the end of this year, it's going to be over 3. What about 8? In 2 years from now, if they really want to curb inflation, like they've been saying that they're going to do, we're going to stop inflation. The only way they're going to fucking stop inflation is by you losing your job and your ability to spend money. That's it. It's the only fucking way. It's what's going to happen. The only good thing, and it is a good thing, is we probably did peak, at least short term. We did probably peak because obviously gas prices are plummeting right now. So that's a good sign because gas prices affect everything. So
what are gas prices down to now?
So I mean, on the street, if you were to buy, at least here in Cincinnati, it's probably like, I don't know, $4.70, $80, $4.80, which is awful that I'm saying it's a good thing.
Which is 20 cents cheaper than it was before I went to Cancun.
But here's the thing. So it takes a little bit longer for it to hit the pumps, but the trading price now for crude oil has dropped 20% in like, I don't know, 2 weeks, probably more now.
Why has it dropped?
Because it's demand destruction, most likely. A lot less people are driving. If you can make that savings.
Well, and I have literally combined trips.
Well,
like I'm in a position where I don't have to drive.
But yeah, exactly. And think about it too, for even me, for the decision that we all made as a family for me to start staying home, a good portion of that was literally gas.
Yeah.
We both had a 30-minute commute one way, so an hour every day. So you're talking $15-$30 just to go to fucking work. Just to go to work. So now you're talking, you span that over a week, you work 5-6 days a week that week, you're talking like a fucking quarter of your paycheck. After taxes, at least. Bye.
Mm-hmm.
Go on. So, demand destruction is probably the biggest thing, and obviously, too, releasing of oil reserves, OPEC producing more oil, those are going to come into play, which we will see the benefits of this, hopefully.
So, how is this, the President Biden giving or selling some of our oil from the
making fucking money? He's an idiot. They're idiots. They're stupid. Here's the thing. Millions of barrels.
But we have that there.
I get it.
For a reason. For an emergency.
Yeah.
The Strategic Petroleum.
It is the stupidest thing in the world for them to be doing that. Because the amount of barrels that they're selling isn't going to impact the market for the most part anyway. Will it make an impact? Sure. A quarter isn't going to fucking get these people out of poverty. The gas tax, saving fucking $5 a month isn't going to get people out of poverty. So, again, what they're doing is only hurting us when there is an emergency, essentially possibly killing us if there's an emergency. It's just propaganda. It's PR. It's bullshit. What they're providing into the market isn't going to make a difference whatsoever. It's just for them to sit there and smugly say that they're doing something and then blaming oil companies for raking in massive profits. That's just what they're doing.
And that's what the President Biden does, is he blames everybody.
Everybody else. But granted, that's anybody in that power just blames everybody else.
Now, did Trump blame?
Trump did it all the time.
Who did he blame?
The media, everybody.
Well, but he was right about that. It's fake media.
Look, I'm not going to argue with that, sure.
Fake news is fake news.
Biden, I would say, has absolutely had bigger issues to deal with and bigger excuses.
Bigger issues?
Yeah.
Like what?
Wars, inflation, record high inflations,
the war
possible
in Ukraine,
financial crisis.
Are we talking about?
Yeah.
That's Putin going in.
Yeah, it's Putin's price hike.
Oh.
Putin's tax.
Oh, yeah.
Putin's price tag.
But the gas was higher.
I know, but it's Putin's fault.
Well, I know.
So that's what I'm saying is Biden's got bigger issues
now. So
now.
you're saying anybody that is
excuses.
in the office as president is going to make excuses.
Yes.
For doing a lousy job.
Anybody in power are going to blame everybody else that they possibly can, except for
themselves.
themselves.
Our great economy and everything that was wonderful for 4 years before COVID, three years before COVID, that had nothing to do with Trump doing a good job.
No, Trump did a good job.
Okay.
Trump did a lot of great things.
Yeah. And imagine how much he could have done had he had maybe one or two of the media supporting him.
I agree, because again, a lot of the
He
things
spent
that
all
took
his
place.
time
But you also got to think too. I mean,
defending himself.
Trump was also the one in power. Granted, he doesn't make the Federal Reserve decisions, at least, but Trump was in power when COVID first hit and unlimited QE entered the market. So
Unlimited what?
unlimited QE, quantitative easing, printing an unlimited amount of money. And when you print an unlimited amount of money on top of it, the banks can then lend out an unlimited amount of money.
Yeah.
Because it's not 10% reserves anymore.
Yeah.
It's unlimited. So when you print $1 billion,
Yeah.
that $1 billion turns into a fucking $1 trillion. On whatever.
Okay.
So a lot of people do. I've seen it on the left a lot of like, well, Trump caused all of this. And a portion of that is right, because he was at least the one in power when the boom took place. Now we're seeing the bust. So when you exponentially craze the market, destroying supply, drastically increasing demand, there's going to be consequences. We're seeing them today. And we're probably not even close to the end of it. We're probably never not going to have, like, the thing is too with inflation, there's no such thing as fucking deflation when it comes to history. Look at it. Look at the chart. Tell me once where there's been a consistent 10-year, 20-year trend of like, oh, our money's worth more. No. Certainly not in the last 60 years, and it will never happen that way ever again. Ever. It will never happen that way. Do not put your money in a savings account. You're going to lose all of it.
Yeah.
Don't do it. It's the stupidest fucking thing in the world. If you put $100,000 or whatever, if you put all of your money in a savings account in 1900 and looked at it today, you'd lose 93 or 96% of it to inflation. Fucking crazy.
Yeah.
So inflation is literally not ever going to go away. From the 1970s and 80s, it didn't go away. Even when they did, they got prices back to a normal level. But again, inflation never left. We will never leave this inflationary period. It will never go away. Because it's meant to do that. Unlimited money, modern monetary theory, that's what is required for this to happen. The worst thing ever that could happen, which is kind of sort of happening in a sense right now, is deflation. Deflation would be so much worse than inflation. It would be so much worse. And that's kind of sort of what's happening right now. That's why gold just broke below 1,700 today. That's why our dollar globally is kicking everybody's ass. Japan crumbling, scary crumbling. Like,
so a euro is the same as a dollar.
Insane.
I've never. Well, the last time it was that way was 20 years ago.
20 years ago in the early 2000s, 90s especially, but still, like, globally, the impact of that happening. It's good for us.
Why shouldn't a dollar in the U.S. be the same as a dollar in London? Why not?
Well, at that point,
euro.
At that point, you are wanting a one world currency.
Well, no, I do not want a one world currency.
But that's what effectively that it would be, because currencies wouldn't have value, their own internal value, if they were all fucking priced the same. So they're priced against one another.
Why aren't they all backed by gold or
None of them are.
Or metal, precious metals? Well, we need to go back to that.
It's impossible for us to do that.
Why not?
If we did that...
Well, if they could have switched it in 71, why can't we switch it back in 22?
Because all of the infrastructure that we have today, which are trillions and trillions of dollars of infrastructure debts, who's gonna like who's gonna pay that? We don't have. There's not enough gold in the world to give you the value of what things are worth today. So if that were to be the case, the values of everything would plummet instantly, day one. The life that we live today would instantly not exist. The ability to buy a home at the value, again, like if we were to magically somehow work our way even back onto a gold standard, there's not enough gold in the world that would exist. And if there was, the first thing that would happen, the first fucking thing, because we've already done it in history, I think once, or I think twice, maybe just once, whatever, nobody would be allowed to own gold. Day one. If they did that, everybody, they've already done it. In America, they've already done it. They would do it again if they did do this. So again, everything would assets would plummet, and then every single day somebody would come to your home and look at your house, and anything that had gold, if you own gold futures, if you own actual physical gold, all of it would be confiscated, and then you would be given fair compensation of that value. And you would get...
Why?
Because if we're going to back it by gold, they have to actually have gold to back it.
And they don't have
that's
the
thing. There's not enough gold in the world today for it to justify the prices that exist today. That's what I'm saying. So if they were to...
Well, the prices are made up.
No, they're not made up. They're what are willing to be bought at.
It's kind of like when a house gets appraised.
It's whatever somebody wants to buy it for. The market is deciding what the prices are, but again, the rules of the game have changed to where, okay, that money is not backed by anything. It's a debt-based system. So when you have a debt-based system, the only way it works is if you give out debt. It's the only way. That's why you can't back it with gold. Because if you back it with gold, that debt that you give to somebody has to be backed by gold.
And they don't have the gold.
No. So it's so much easier. And of course, I'm glad, frankly, because of the amount of global progression that this has allowed, the economic leadership superpower that America has been able to create because of the decision that they did. I'm not saying it's right, but I am, and just like everybody else, are reaping the benefits of it.
You blamed me earlier. He did. We can go back and listen. That it was my fault that we went off the gold standard in 71 when I was one.
But they made that decision, and it altered the trajectory of everything going forward.
So why can't we fix it and go back?
Again, we could, but are you going to be okay with having everything gold related to your persons to be confiscated and then paid fairly with cash? And then, again, massive asset evaluations would minimum probably 50 to 75%. Minimum. Overnight. Gone. Cut it. Because nobody could then buy a fucking house. And then the people selling their house would be so far under their mortgage, you would cause a giant global, not even international, a global collapse.
So what did Putin do in Russia? He made the ruble's doing pretty good.
The ruble's doing great, better than ever.
But what the fuck did he do?
Okay, well, at the end of the day, and I'm not an expert on this, but Russia in general is a commodity-based economy. So oil is like 25 or 30% of their entire GDP.
How much of our oil?
I don't know.
Compare it to the U.S. before Biden took over and shut everything down.
I don't know what we're compared with.
Because we were completely energy efficient. So whatever oil we needed, we had.
Yeah.
Under our feet.
But now that's not the case.
Well, the oil didn't go anywhere. We just made stupid decisions to not use the oil we have. However, he's over in Saudi Arabia right now asking for more oil. But he doesn't want to use our oil that we already have.
We allowed a collapse of America's refining companies and even oil producers. We allowed them to collapse. Because again, when oil collapsed, when that happened, just that one day, let alone the few weeks of or few months of like absolute demand destruction that took place, that put out so many companies instantly, just done. So again, now we're seeing the effects of that. But Russia in general, I mean, it's not just oil, uranium, wheat. There's so many commodities that
they've got a lot of stuff. So we have the same amount of stuff.
It's just different. So again, when their whole economy is based off of these
what
commodities,
do we have that they don't have?
I mean, we are a really large producer of food in general. So
more so than Russia.
Oh yeah, probably any other country almost in the world. We're massive food producer.
Thank goodness for our farmers.
Well, yes, thank you, farmers. And that's one good thing to where, like, will we see mass famine in America? No, probably not ever.
Well, no, but the powers that be, someone is destructing our food supply because they're all these fires at all of these.
We already talked about that.
Oh, we did.
It's not real.
It's not real. Only
there was a lot of fires that took place. 10,000 cattle died in Texas or whatever, Oklahoma. Sure, this is a normal. That's all of it's normal. It happens every year. Look at the fucking numbers on an average basis. There's no outliers that take place in the last 10 years.
So every year we have 100
every year
plants destroyed.
Every year and
food processing plants are destroyed.
An average of 5 years per se. I don't know exact. It's not out of the ordinary whatsoever. So, but keeping our topic, Russia's economy tanked when the war first started, and then obviously based off of China's support. Other countries now coming, in a sense, to their aid in a lot of ways.
Well, no, they want their oil.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
But again, when a massive portion of their entire economy is revolved around oil, guess what's going to do really well? That country.
Yeah.
So that's why the ruble's holding up and doing very well.
Okay, so they have more oil than we do.
I don't know the exact thing, but I would assume yes. I would assume, but maybe not. I don't know. I don't know that. I'm not an expert on that whatsoever. A couple years ago, probably not at all.
But didn't they say, hey, if you want my oil, you have to pay in rubles? He said that to the other countries. And what happened?
Strength.
Yeah.
Strength.
Yeah.
But again, but here's the thing.
Strength.
The whole point that I was wanting to get at is the dollar itself is... Every day it impacts the market. So I'm looking at the dollar strength every day and what's happened just in the last 2 months especially, but even the last 2 days has been insane.
So what do you think is happening to the dollar?
I mean, interest rates are going up. Money is getting more expensive. Deflationary things are happening.
So people that have cash.
Yes, cash is king right now.
Yeah.
Cash is king. Even though it's losing 10%, 9.1% to inflation, it is still fucking king. It's outperforming every market right now. Maybe not energy, but probably even. So cash is king. But the problem with that is it's a global sickness that is happening right now. So when it's great for us in the very short term, currently, very short term, because it's not going to last very long. Because again, when we're able to buy more things with our dollar, they're getting less. The impacts that they have, these other countries, Britain, UK, Japan, even China, all of these countries, once their currency's starting to weaken, it's eventually going to impact us negatively. And regardless, it's a global sickness. I mean, globally this is taking place. So Japan is definitely one thing that's scary a lot, because Japan has been historically the rock bed of no inflation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they fucked up a lot in the 70s, 80s just to mass progress their economy and infrastructure. But now it's just Japan, the yen versus the dollar is getting scary for that country. So if one country loses grip on their own economy, I mean, I'm not saying it's a domino effect, but it very well could be a domino effect. And no matter what, it's eventually going to catch its way back to America. So, and two, here's the yield curve. Oh my
No,
God.
You're talking smack. I don't know what you're talking about. What's the yield?
The yield curve is always what everybody in the market looks at for predicting the recession. So every yield curve
Okay, but didn't we just talk about the idiots that are in charge? They kept saying it's transitory. It's transitory.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. All they're saying
so
now.
The same people, the idiots we shouldn't have listened to 6 months ago, a year ago, and are still wrong today, we're listening to now.
No, this is just what's happening in the market.
Okay.
The Fed doesn't make up the yield curve. Well, in a sense they do.
They do.
But regardless.
They're corrupt.
Regardless. The yield curve, so the 2 and the 10 year is always kind of like the staple of what the market's looking at for the actual yield curve. So that means the 2-year bonds are paying more than the 10-year. So you can get a 2-year note and it's going to pay you a higher interest than a 10-year.
Okay.
That's not right.
No.
Right? What fucking investment is that? I'd rather have 3.2%, 3.25% interest on a 2-year note where I can get, more than the 10-year, which is at 2.9.
But if I was giving you my money to use, I should be making more than 2.5%.
Exactly. So, but that's the problem, is that's not normal. Normally, the 2-year pays a lower rate than the 10-year.
Okay.
That's normal. And the 30 pays more than the 10-year. So, but what's happening is the 2 and the 10 are inverted. Scary now.
Wow.
Usually, when these happen, you're talking a few basis points, or a few very close. You're talking like a cents or whatever percentage. But now we're at like this morning, it was 25 basis points of a difference, and that level exceeded even 2008's.
Wow.
At the highest. Now again, so what the boomers or the doom and gloomers will say is like, oh well, it's predicted every single recession ever, but then under the caveat of 2 years. So you have a 2-year time horizon from when they invert. Well, at that point you're throwing a rock into an ocean here, you're going to hit water. So, but the thing that is scary to me is how inverted they went as quickly as they have, and now this is our second actual inversion just in the last few months. So basically the market is predicting the recession to officially be here right now. Technically. At least I'm coming to that understanding of it solely because of the inversion as quickly as it has. And obviously we have earnings coming out now, like the next 2-3 weeks are going to be all of the major companies delivering earnings. And then at the end of this month, we are going to officially know if we are officially in a recession, which is 2 quarters of negative GDP.
Well, I can tell you, your mom knows we're going into a recession.
Well, the thing is technically, I mean, we could still not technically be in a recession. They could print a 0.1.
In 2008, and please forgive me, I lived through it. Are we calling that a recession?
2008?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was absolutely a recession. That was a damn near depression.
Damn near depression. Again.
The Great Recession.
I mean, I saw my 401k literally cut in half.
Easy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but here's the thing. So the difference even between 2008 and today. Yeah. So in 2008, 2009, when everything really got to its lows, it bottomed out and started to recover when the Fed stepped in and lowered interest rates. That's their power. That's how we all got through it. That's why how mortgages were fucking nothing. You know, that's why everybody was able to go back to work and the growth took place from that point on. The difference that we have today compared to then, we kind of have far to go down on the interest rate wise, and that's what the market is actually predicting already, is that, okay, we go to 3, 4, 5%, and then we come right back down, because we're going to have to. We're going to have to do that. But the difference of scale is $31 trillion in debt compared to whatever we were at in 2018 or 2008. And then the other landscapes taking place besides 2008. Super high inflation, not just high oil. You're talking about high inflation in general across the board. So, I don't know. It's very scary for the next 2 years. Because it very well could be like a 2001, 2000 .com bubble almost, where the NASDAQ didn't recover the peak of what happened in 2001 until 2015, 2014.
Well, it was when Trump was in office.
Well, whatever, it didn't matter. But still, that difference in time, 15 years almost, it took it that long to just get back to where it used to be. Imagine if we went 10, 15 years of people's 401ks being cut in half and then staying at half for a very fucking long time. For the next 4 years. The people that are at retirement age and relying on that income, I mean, again, spiral. The spiral, It's all connected.
Is that why you're worried about me? Because I'm getting to be retirement age?
No.
And
I'm not worried about you, but I would be worried for somebody who is right now approaching retirement age, or will be approaching retirement age in the next year. At that point, that could be scary for them, especially if they didn't diversify well, or they only are relying on their 401k.
When shit hits the fan, honey, really does diversification really help?
Yeah, I mean, energy's done relatively well. I mean, obviously, if you have like dividend-paying stocks, that could do somewhat okay if they pay a dividend, or continue to pay a dividend. So, I mean, if you diversify yourself good enough, you should be fine. But at the same point, most people...
It didn't matter what we were back in 2008. We all lost 50% of what we had in there.
Easy. And a lot of people lost a shit ton of money in 2020.
Yeah.
But then, luckily, 3, 4, 5 months later, it was making new highs. And then fucking doubled from that point on. Damn near doubled. So, I don't know. I'm just a little bleak and weary of, like,
I believe
short to long term.
The stock market is going to have a crash.
It already kind of did. I mean, we're at bear market territory now, for sure. We're definitely 20% plus on the S&P even today. But that's kind of the difference. I mean, when you look at the charts of like 2008 compared to today, in 2000 especially, I mean, a lot of things look very, very fucking similar. Yeah, because...
Well, and whatever we did back then didn't really work, so why are we doing it again?
That's just the modern monetary theory for you, baby.
Well,
boom, bust, boom. Boom, bust, boom.
I'm thinking that's probably not the best way to...
That's capitalism. Boom, bust, boom. That's how it works. It goes like this. It goes like that.
I don't think it's supposed to.
It is. I mean, it's a natural form of how it works. I think it just...
Because we're a debt-based system.
Yeah, for sure. So that's where, like, okay, people who are cash heavy, this could be extremely profitable for you if we go into a heavy recession. Because again, right now we're hovering right, especially if you're looking at it on a graph, we're hovering right at this beautiful level of like, it could absolutely recover and start making new highs. It totally could. But we're going into earnings season, and then again, maybe not this earnings, but the next earnings especially is where I could foresee a lot of these things taking place, to where earnings compressions will happen. We already had multiple compressions happen in the market where multiples of companies for the overall market has contracted. So that's why stocks and everything fell.
They're making less money, which makes their stock.
We don't even know that yet. That's the earnings compression that are about to possibly take place.
Let me just throw something out here, because again, this is all going over my blonde head. To me, a company, let's say Twitter, they have to, as part of them being on the New York Stock Exchange, they have to report their earnings, report a lot of things, like the amount of bots that they have, in order to be on the New York Stock Exchange, right?
They have to report. They're a public company, so they're publicly bound to withhold or to hold
traded.
Yeah.
Just like Mid-America, which is a company I used
to work for. So they legally have to provide everything.
Here's a good, for just topic of conversation. You got Twitter, and let's say they're valued, the worth of their company was $44 billion with a B,
which is overpriced. But yeah.
Well, clearly it was overpriced. But we went how many years with Twitter being fucktards and censored us and full of bots, which, if you have a social media company, what is the purpose of that company?
Advertising. All of it.
Yes.
That's the only way they make money. Well, how do you
get... Exactly. But they weren't making money. They weren't being profitable. But a lot of times we were valuing this company on made-up shit.
Well, that's the multiples.
Which, again, going right over my head.
So the multiples of the company, so they're going to trade at 19 times earnings or whatever. So the multiples of that. So the stock market has already contracted their multiples. So now you're convincing
me that, and you know how I'm a gambler. I like to gamble, but I've learned to control it. I have learned to control it. Now I only go when I, have the urge to go. But to me, the stock market is it's gambling.
Well, no, it's not.
It's gambling.
If you're investing, you risk, sure. But if you're smart and investing, it's not gambling. Now, if you're trading, that's gambling. If you're speculating on crypto and NFTs, that's gambling. But again, it's just if you're investing consistently, dollar cost averaging in companies that you know very well and believe in, you're risking. But I don't look at it like gambling. I mean, the gamble is the fucking same thing as your 401k, but you provide to it every week, every couple weeks anyway. That's not gambling. That's investing.
Yeah, but you're investing, but at any given moment, we could lose it all.
Absolutely. 100%.
That's gambling.
Yeah, but again, speculative-driven assets can be looked at like gambling. So if you're buying a company that's like Rivian. Rivian's a great example. Rivian was...
What do they do? What do they make?
It's another EV company that just blew up right at the peak of everything. And I even knew like an asset manager who was all excited about Rivian. And I looked at him dead in the face when it IPO'd and it was trading at ridiculous levels for not being profitable remotely, but a ridiculous multiple of that company being traded at. Oh, I got Rivian at a great deal and all this, $200, $140, all this shit. I'm like, I might look at it at 20, and even still, it could probably go to 5. It could probably go to 0.
Okay, you are betting on something that haven't even proved their worth.
Yes, that's gambling.
That's what I'm talking about.
But that's speculative.
But to be honest with you,
that's speculative.
So the Twitter example versus maybe a Mid-America. Mid-America is a REIT, and they own real estate, apartments.
Pay a great dividend.
And knock on wood, it has done well for me. And I've had a lot of financial advisors say, Lisa, you actually have too much of Mid-America. You should be more diversified. My train of thinking, and I'm not necessarily, that's not what I do. I'm not a financial advisor. I don't claim to be one on TV. But what I believed in was that company, because I worked for them.
Yep.
And I knew they were a good company that did, they supplies to their commodity.
But see,
right?
That's the difference though.
They're a commodity.
Expert. You were an expert in that industry. You knew it. You worked in it. You invested yourself and your own time into it. So it makes sense that you're not gambling. You were investing.
Yes. So, and it made sense for me, and I still believe that they're a good company because you can see, you can touch, and you can feel their apartment communities.
Yeah, they have assets.
They truly have assets. You can see their worth.
Their cash flow assets too. On top
yes, of it. And the thing with like a Twitter, that really they have no value, because if they're not allowing you to talk the truth, why fucking waste your time?
Well, here's the difference between like a Twitter and all, even Facebook, because Facebook has been more than cut in half now at this point. It's crazy. But
I was right about that too, wasn't I?
Social media.
Don't you remember when I told you?
The power of social media in general all comes from the platform itself. The user base is required and all.
But if you can't talk and have conversations, legitimate conversations, I'm not saying I'm right. I'm wrong about a lot of fucking shit. But the fact that I couldn't say ivermectin on Facebook,
it's bullshit.
It's bullshit.
But
why would we waste our time on Twitter?
I agree completely.
Facebook.
And that
Instagram.
Obviously will impact their bottom line. But more than anything too, especially in recessionary periods, what's the first thing to go? In any company, any business, what's the first thing that they let go of or stop?
People.
No. What's the first thing that any company does, especially if they're selling something? What's the first thing that they stop doing when times get hard? Stop advertisements. It's the first thing they stop doing. The salespeople are the last to go, but advertisements are the first. So Twitter, Facebook, all of them. They're all the money that they generate for the most part is that data and advertisements.
Yeah.
And if they're losing people from not going onto the platform, there goes the data. And if especially the companies that are paying them to advertise their products stop paying them, there goes both your revenue streams.
And they could have fixed it by fucking letting us talk.
Well,
had they let us be honest,
it's still
people would go back on it. We could make Twitter fun if they let us talk. If you don't like someone or you don't agree with what they say, don't talk to them.
Well,
remember being a kid and you'd be like, Mom, somebody hurt my feelings. They were so mean to me. I'd be like, well, fucking stay away from them. Didn't I?
Yes. We need to wrap this up.
Okay, we've been talking a long time.
Yes.
How long?
Almost an hour and 50 minutes-ish.
Oh, wow. This has been my favorite, hands down, my favorite episode. We should probably put this one out first.
We'll put this one out.
Okay.
So, thank you, everybody. If you somehow made it this long into this podcast, I'm shocked. Tell me, comment below that you've stayed, and I will. Your name will be barred into my brain for a long time because I'm so proud and shocked. So, like, subscribe, do all the things for us, support our channel because we desperately, want to be successful at this. We'll have a Patreon too that hopefully if you enjoy this content, you see value in it, please donate and share your support with that. We want to keep doing this and we want to be motivated at the same time to keep doing this. So thank you all for your time today, and We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.